Willard and Dibbs, Steiny and Goo will be live at Chase Center. Did you see their guest list? Woo-wee! Steve Kerr, Bob Myers, Sleepy Floyd, Jason Richardson, Luke Walton, Chris Mullen, my co-host on NBC Sports Bay Area, is coming on at 2:30. Bully with Steiny and Goo. How the hell did that happen? But, man, they are stacked. So you want to be tuned in to 95.7 The Game all day long. And, of course, Warriors in heat a little bit later. But let's take a timeout from the Golden State Warriors. We'll get back to them.
A 20?
We'll figure out a little 20. Nah, we're going to take a full. We're going to take a full. Get the arms out, Shasky. A full. Because we got to go to Laura Britt. The NBC Sports Bay Area do-it-all. Niners pregame, pre and post. She's done some A's. She's done some Giants. She's done some Sharks. She's done a little bit of everything. Laura, good morning. Long time no talk. What's happening?
I thought you guys had forgotten about me. Whew, I feel much better now that I'm back on with you guys. I've missed you.
No, we missed you too, and we wanted to give you some time off away from the Niners, and I saw you horseback riding. You've been all over the world, it feels like, back in the country.
Like Louie in Snowfall? You're on a horse?
You're on a horse.
All over the world, as in the wonderful states of Mississippi and Alabama.
Well, it sounds like the time off did you some good.
Good for you.
Did you enjoy it? We missed you too. I know it was tough to decompress from that NFC Championship loss as the Niners lost to the Rams down at SoFi Stadium. And look, things really hasn't changed much from the 49ers with the exception of DJ Jones and
now
Lincoln
they
Thomason.
have a whole other set of issues on their hands, right?
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo, he could be back next season, Laura. Imagine that.
No, I can't. I don't see it. The landing spots for Garoppolo are definitely dwindling, if not already dwindled, but I just can't imagine him being back on the roster next season. I don't think that's going to happen. The 49ers will make something happen.
You know, you've been covering this team now since the beginning of Shanahan and Garoppolo's rise, you know, after the knee injury. Everybody was around Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of the fan support, and it feels like a lot of it is gone. When you take the temperature of the fan base today, if they were to bring him back, how do you think fans would react?
I don't think they would like it, and that's not to say anything negative about Jimmy Garoppolo. When you're at Levi's Stadium, or even our 49ers insider, Matt Mayoko, he travels to all the away games, and when he's at any stadium, the loudest cheers by far for anyone are for Jimmy Garoppolo. So you see a lot of this social media hate and people, you know, with their keyboard, you know, power that they have, type out all this stuff. But in reality, people like Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think that ship has now sailed. So while they still like the guy and appreciate his efforts for the 49ers, it's time to move on. And I get the sense that most 49ers fans feel that way. Let's see what Trey Lance has. You don't want to drag this thing out for another season. It doesn't make sense for the team. It doesn't make sense for Trey Lance. It doesn't make sense for Jimmy Garoppolo, for the fan base. You've got to move on and see what your first-round pick in 2021 has to offer. And I always go back to a mental aspect of it that some people might not think about. Think about what that would do to Trey Lance mentally. And he's a tough, strong, amazing player and mentally strong. But you have to imagine this team drafts you with their, moves up, gives up all this draft capital, and gets you sit behind a guy for a year. That makes sense. That's understandable. But now you go into another year with a quarterback that's coming off of a shoulder injury and now has shoulder surgery that he's recovering from. The team has clearly made statements that they want to move on from him in drafting you, being Trey Lance. And then they want to hang him on to him for another year. I don't think that would be a good message. I don't think it's the message that the Niners want to send to Trey Lance, and I just don't think it's realistic.
Yeah, although Jed York did say it last year, Lord, we all laughed at it. Hey, we're comfortable sitting Trey Lance for 2 years. I'm like, yeah, good joke, Jed York. And now I'm thinking, like, man, maybe he wasn't lying.
Was he telling the truth all along?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows with Jed, who, by the way, is sitting courtside next to Joe Lacob on Sunday. We're talking to the great Laura Britt here on The Morning. We're also on 95.7 The Game, the NBC Sports Bay Area do-it-all. Giants, Niners, Sharks, A's, you name it, she's there. Speaking of which, you were down to Scottsdale hotel hanging out with the Giants, it looked like. Got to take in some spring training games.
I saw her on stage, too, I believe, interviewing some people, some prominent Giants.
People you might know. I don't know, Gabe Kapler and Farhan Zaidi. Just to name drop a little bit. No, I got, that was actually, this is kind of embarrassing, my first spring training experience.
How was it?
Wait. First spring training, like, ever?
Well, she's from Alabama, Shasky.
Why?
So you didn't go down to the Grapefruit League in Florida?
Wow.
No, that was my first spring training experience ever. I mean, really, since I got out of college, I've just been on this television run around the country in a bunch of different places and have never really had a chance to go. So it was great to get out there.
Real quick, Laura, hold on, real quick, Laura. Alabama, is baseball big in Alabama? I don't find Alabama.
The Birmingham Barons, Michael Jordan.
I think we've talked about this before on the Morning Roast with you guys, but everything is based around college. But people are in Birmingham. Everybody's a Braves fan, so there's that. But it's not the culture there because Atlanta from Birmingham 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's not something you're doing on a Saturday afternoon. If hey, we don't have anything to do, let's run. Go to a Braves game. You kind of have to plan it out. It's not. You're not going every week or anything like that. So it's just a different culture. People are definitely baseball fans. Baseball is huge in Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, all of that. But it's not. It's just a different feel. It's a different culture because there aren't professional teams.
Well, let's weave the two topics in together because you do the 49er pre- and post-game show on NBC Bay Area, and you were with the Giants down in Scottsdale. So I want to know what's like. We put out a question. Do you trust the offseason of Farhan and Gabe Kapler more or John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan? And I noticed that you commented last night on that. Who are you taking in terms of their offseason moves this year and why?
It's so tough. I've been thinking about this ever since I saw that question last night. And every time I want to say, I trust Farhan and Gabe more, then I'm like, I don't know. I like Shanahan and Lynch more. This offseason is a little bit different. I mean, the lockout in baseball kind of threw some things off. I do like some of the deals I like that they avoided arbitration with Kurt Casale, Darren Ruff, Yaz. I like that they've gotten that out of the way. I think the biggest storyline for the Giants is that they don't have Buster anymore. But I like, Logan Webb is going to be the man for the Giants. I like that they bring on Rodon. I think he's a good addition.
Is it Rodon? Are we're confirmed on that? It's Rodon?
I've heard 3 different people say 3 different ways.
Okay,
I'll
me
get
too.
confirmation.
Me
Back
too.
to you guys next time I do it.
I'm just going to call him Carlos.
Bad, Laura.
I was going to call him Los.
Carlos.
Yeah.
Carlos
Los.
R.
Yeah.
Carlos R.
Carlitos
I think some people wanted to see them add another big bat. They get Jock Peterson. I think those moves are good and smart, but the lockout kind of threw things off. With the 49ers, you want to see them be able to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, but is that their fault? Is that Lynch and Shanahan's fault that these other teams have decided to go a different direction, that Jimmy Garoppolo had to have shoulder surgery?
Yeah, that
one move that I don't love, and I think I saw you comment on this, Shasky, so I'd like to get your opinion on it too. I've just got such respect for K'Wan Williams, and I would have loved to see him come back with the Niners. Now, they're going to be able to fill in the pieces and try and do some things with Deommodore Lenoir and Emmanuel Mosley, and they signed Ward, who was out. Oh, I've got little visitors. I don't know.
Hi.
Hello, hi.
Britt is in here saying hi.
What up?
But I love that move. I think that's a good move by the 49ers, but I don't love that they had to let K'Wan Williams go.
So, it's interesting. K'Wan Williams in slot corner, when he came in, he was a really, really good player for this team. I just thought the last 2 years, clearly injuries are a factor, and he missed a lot of time. That position, to me, is such a young man's position. You are in the slot. You have to have quick hips. You got to be able to not get beat off the line. And I just time and time again, he kept getting beat off the line. And in this division, against the core of receivers that they're going up against, I have no problem trying to find an upgrade for K1. I think it's going to be hard to find an upgrade.
That's what I'm saying.
But to me, they have to invest draft capital into that position.
Here's what I'll say, Laura, real quick. 2 years, $7 million with the Denver Broncos. I would have taken that chance on a guy who knows the system, who knows the scheme, who tackles really well. And I would bet on him. Look, I know he's bad on injuries.
Killed him.
Yeah, but Cooper Kupp kills everybody.
I know.
Cooper Kupp kills everybody.
You're right.
You know, so K1, he comes up with big plays, whether it's in the run game, whether it's in the pass game. He could blitz really, really well. That's a loss that I'm like, all right, who's going to play nickel?
Well, isn't it a young man position?
Yes, but K1 is still relatively young.
What I'm saying
I hear you. But it's such a tough spot, Laura, to replace nickel corner because you're always in nickel this year. You're always in nickel,
71% last year, and I saw this from Jordan Elliott on Twitter, covers the 49ers. 71% of the time, the Niners were in nickel coverage last year, meaning they had the 5 DBs and the 3 cornerbacks out there.
And so are you betting on Jason Verrett to be healthy and re-signing him? Are you going to move Mosley inside?
No.
I don't know. He plays better outside.
I think you draft this position.
But do you want to draft? Hey, Laura, that's dangerous to draft a rookie and have him guard slot corners. Slot wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do, but are you expecting him to play at a high level in 2022 when you're drafting a rookie? If you ever listen to 49ers talk with me and Matt, I'm such a creature of habit. I'm like, re-sign everybody, keep the roster the same. I have a hard time moving on from people, that have done so much for the organization, and I get that. Obviously, that's what John Lynch gets paid to do. Is he gets paid, in the scouts to find the next crop of talent. And really, some of the rookies have been really impressive. And you look at Elijah Mitchell. Was anybody expecting that last season?
No.
So who's to say that you can't find that diamond in the rough even in late rounds, which is something that the 49ers have planned for. John Lynch has talked about, everybody knows this is not a quarterback draft, and last year was. Well, that's why they made that move. That's why they made the move in 2021, and knowing what they had to give up, they had the foresight to look ahead and see what the needs were on their roster and what the availability would be in the draft. And that's the foresight that they had. Yeah. So they knew what they were doing last year when they made that move, and they know what's available and out there this year. Now, who's to say if any of it pans out? But that's the same situation they're in with Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows. And if anybody says that they know, they're lying to y'all.
Well, me and Bonta know. So
we're not. I guess we're lying. We're actually just delusional.
You're lying to all the roasters.
We're actually just delusional.
I have a question for you. We're going to ask our audience right now, and Bonta has been kind of scoffing at the notion that Jimmy Garoppolo is a leader, quote unquote, and that he has these leadership qualities.
No, it's not that, Laura. It's just like, look, I was on this 3-4 weeks ago. When he had the surgery on the shoulder, I said, well, where's his market at? He doesn't fit Indianapolis's offense because I try to look at things from the other team's perspective. Cleveland, is Jimmy going to throw the football in that weather when it gets to November and December in that division? Pittsburgh, same thing. New Orleans, well, I knew they liked Jameis. So there really wasn't a market out there. Then once Watson got basically the okay to go ahead and look for another team, then it was like, man, Jimmy's screwed here. Russell Wilson going to Denver. Jimmy's kind of screwed here. And then everything came up was like, well, he's a leader. And Laura, when I think of the 49ers and leaders, I think of George Kittle. I think of Juszczyk. I think of Armstead. I think of Fred Warner. I think of Kittle, and I think of Trent Williams. Jimmy's like the 7th guy I think of.
Well, so that's not the question that I want to ask you, because it's no. But
I had to get that off.
But I'm glad you got that off. But like Buster Posey, a leader for the Giants. We can agree. Steph Curry, a leader. I asked last night on Twitter, what are the qualities of leadership? Like, what are the ones that you most look for in a leader? And what are the worst qualities to have? And it felt like all of the responses, people were telling me that Draymond Green specifically is not a leader. He cannot be accounted for in crucial situations. He's not someone who's self-aware. A lot of the qualities that people were saying they don't want in a leader, he possesses. I'm going to ask you directly, because he seems very polarizing. Is Draymond Green a leader?
Wow, that's tough. I actually think in some instances it's not a dead giveaway, yes, but I think that he is in a lot of ways. When you think of faces of franchises, Steph and Clay take the number 1 and 2 spot there for the Warriors, but I don't think Draymond's. I mean, he's number 3 potentially for the Warriors, and so does that make him a leader? I mean, if you're a face of a franchise, if a franchise is willing to, bank themselves on having you as being one of the top-tiered guys in their organization, I think that's part of it. I think one thing that I do think that is underestimated for a leader is you have to be good. I know that sounds but you have to actually be good.
It's a great point.
It's actually a big key.
Yeah, it's a key ingredient.
Usually leaders are the great players, Laura.
Yeah, like
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, you list all these qualities and you think, good locker room guy. You think this, you actually have to be good at what you do. And Draymond is clearly that. I mean, he's good at that. Now, where you do start to fall off on the leader aspect with Draymond is some of the stuff you were talking about. Can you control your emotions in a game? How are you leading your team in that aspect? Can they count on you when, if something were to happen in a game and you get on this emotional high, how can you bring yourself back down?
Yeah.
And that's where Draymond struggles.
Yeah.
So, I think Jimmy Garoppolo was a leader. I think this is kind of the microcosm of Jimmy Garoppolo as a whole. He was not a great quarterback, and he's not a terrible quarterback. He falls right there in the middle.
Agreed.
And for that position especially, that might be why people say, why Bonta feels the way that he does and you feel the way that you do, because that's a leadership position on the field, no matter who sits there. But if you're meh at it, then it kind of gets overshadowed by George Kittle, by Trent Williams, by other players on the roster, by Fred Warner. So I get where it is kind of hard. Now, if you ask anybody in that locker room, they'll tell you he's a leader.
Yep.
And I guess that's what matters the most, is what do your teammates think about you? Who cares what us in the media say?
That's a good point.
It's your teammates, and not one person has not backed him up in a press conference. Nobody's throwing Jimmy Garoppolo under the bus. Not one of them. I haven't heard a bad word about Garoppolo.
Yeah, unlike Baker Mayfield.
I mean, since he's in there.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that says a lot. He's not doing anything sketchy behind the scenes, or that would all come out at some point. Somebody would get frustrated. Somebody would say, an off comment or say something. So from everything I know, he is a leader. It's just outwardly when you're I don't think mediocre is the right word. I think he's above mediocre, but when you're middle of the road, people on the outside want the star.
Yeah.
Want the
Josh Allen
the player that excels.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Laura, another
you,
great
Laura.
job on the Morning Roast.
Tell the kids I said hi.
We will be talking at least once a month. We guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it so much. Bo is not a fan of this conversation. I don't know if you can hear the screaming in the background.
Well,
Bo, we're sorry, Bo.
Bo wants pancakes, and so do I.
Bo, yeah, he wants the
Bo
strawberries, too.
You know what, Shasky, you're right. All he cares about is food. So I'm going to go feed the kid.
Yeah.
Bo, go feed Bo.
Good luck with that. You got about 17 more years of that.
And she's got 3. Laura's got 3. It's not an easy job. Mama's getting it done. Laura, talk to you soon.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Laura Britt, NBC Sports Bay Area.
I'd like to expand on this conversation about leadership, because it's an excellent point you make about Jimmy Garoppolo, because we brought so much into the intangible thing with Jimmy G, and I find a very direct correlation to Jimmy and Dre. Both are not the best players on their team.
Nope.
Right? I think Dre is more accomplished in his sport by far than what Jimmy G is, right?
Right.
But we see so much. Dre's the emotional leader. Dre's the heart and soul of this team. But at times, he's emotionally unreliable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best qualities of the leader Steph Curry, of the leader Buster Posey, who's just stepped away from the Giants.
He's the vocal leader, but vocal leaders, when they start barking, it starts to fall on deaf ears if you are not producing.
Exactly.
And if you're not around the basketball team.
Exactly.
When you're hurt for 2 months and we don't see you, and now he was around most practices, no doubt, getting his rehab or whatever, but leaders really lead by example. Leaders lead by coming through in the clutch.
Work ethic.
Being the first one at the gym.
How you treat others.
Exactly.
I think self-deprecation, I would say self-respect, awareness, respect for your teammates, respect. And this doesn't have to be just sports.
And you
this
can't
is
tell
any
me
industry.
You can't tell me the leadership Draymond had last year with James Wiseman. That wasn't leadership.
No.
You were berating him on the floor
I'm
multiple
with you.
times. The kid is 19 years old. Got to hug a guy like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Jordan Poole told him, hey, say it to my face. Draymond starts popping off. That's not leadership. Steph Curry's out on the floor, your team needs you.
Yeah.
You're the self-proclaimed DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. When you go out there and get kicked out and you're barking when the referees give you more leeway. I saw it again last night. Referees are giving Draymond a lot of leeway. And every other minute he's talking to the referees. To me, that's not leadership.
Yeah.
Your head is in the wrong place. You're worried about a call, just play ball. I heard Kalina Azubuike a couple times on the broadcast. Come on, just move on.
He can't.
And that's not leadership to me.
I was tweeting the other day, just let it go. You got to let it go. Now, I also think that there's a leadership quality from the owner. I think there's got to be a leadership quality from the GM position, from the head coach, from Steph Curry, who's the best player on the team. Like, there can be many layers of leaders. I just find it interesting. The qualities that we look for in a leader in any industry are very transferable to sports. Like, are there some outliers in how you run a tech company, or the best plumber, or the best foreman on a job site? Like, is it necessarily 1-in-1 in sports? No, but I think metaphorically you're looking for the same thing. The worst thing you can be as a leader is unreliable and calling out others and never taking that self-awareness.
I want to play the Steve Kerr cut because I want to ask you about leadership since we're here. Here's what he said.
You find this fascinating?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it's interesting because it is something to it. Leadership. Draymond Green being the heart and soul, I do believe he's like the glue that gets everything together. I don't want to discredit him because the Warriors don't win those championships without Draymond Green.
No, both can be true. Yeah, both can be true.
But Steph Curry's the leader of this organization because of the way he sets the tone by not talking a lot, by not being boisterous, by working hard in the gym, by putting up multiple shots, by taking his rehab seriously and being around the basketball team. Steph Curry is a leader inside and out. And this team usually takes on the persona of your leader, and they do that for the most
best
part.
Player, absolutely.
This team is not built to take on that type of persona from Draymond Green, where you're barking and you're yelling. It feels like a negative connotation. It feels negative when he's barking at the referees or whatnot. But I want to play this cut.
It's a really good point.
Is this a lot of people questioned leadership of Steve Kerr?
Yes.
Well, is this leadership to you with what Steve Kerr said last night after they lost to Orlando?
Let me hear it.
We got to stop fouling three-point shooters. That's killed us the last two games. You take away the fouls on the three-point shooters, and in my opinion, we win both games. We got to take care of the ball. We can't get illegal screens. We had a couple of just awful illegal screens where we're completely out of position, and we know we're out of position. If that's the case, don't set a screen. Mental mistakes. Be sharp on our switches, be sharp defensively. The ball's on the ground. We got to go get there's got to be a level of discipline, of accountability, of competitive desire. And I know these are great guys. I love these guys in the locker room. Awesome guys. And I know they want to win, but we have to learn how to win. And right now we don't know how to win.
Where would you put that on the totem pole when it comes to leadership?
So to me, being honest at the beginning, we're fouling three-point shooters too much.
Not good.
Right? Execution down the stretch. Him diagnosing what's wrong, but I think his emotional stability throughout the conversation and the respect for the people that he's communicating to, not the media. I'm talking about the team, because he's communicating to the team through the media.
Right.
To me, that was leadership. Now, we could talk about, is he a dynamic in-game strategist? That is different from being a leader. Would you agree?
I would say there's other coaches who are better in-game strategists, like a Eric Spoelstra. I think of him right away. Monty Williams at Phoenix has done a great job with in-game adjustments. Coach Budenholzer, who a lot of people get on in Milwaukee, I think he's a really good coach, and everybody's gotten on him for years.
Like, for example, Belichick, you and I agree, strategist, one of the greats. What about the personal relationships working day to day?
Right.
Not the greatest, right?
Probably not.
So you're not going to be a home run A+ guy in every department. So I think that Steve's, his leadership qualities are in communication, how he treats people, all those things. Does he lack some of the in-game strategy stuff? Yeah, but that's what the other guys are there for as well, right? On his bench.
Mike Brown and Kenny Atkinson and Ron
when you
Adams.
have a team that's going to be more veteran-laden, which is what they've been the last 7 years, you don't need as much of that strategy stuff that you need. You needed a communicator. You needed a relationship.
Was Phil Jackson a great in-game strategist?
No, people were ripping the triangle even when he was winning.
But personal communication.
Absolutely. He understood how to connect with people.
Exactly.
And how to communicate with them. The thing that I'm looking at here.
Danker, relax on YouTube. Get Musselman back to the Warriors. Relax. Relax.
I mean, come on.
Let's stop.
The thing that I keep coming back to when it comes to the Warrior team right now, they lack the leadership on the court right now. For me, on the court. They lack it right now. And the guy who I expect to be their leader, Draymond Green, while Steph Curry's out, because he's such a fiery, outspoken person.
He's not showing leadership.
No, Klay's not that dude.
Klay's not that guy. It's not in his
Nick
DNA.
Bosa. Would you ask Nick Bosa to be the vocal leader? No,
he's not that guy. That's
exactly.
Frank Warner Jr. That's Jimmy Ward. Let's go to T in the South Bay. T in the South Bay, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. It's been a couple weeks.
Hey,
I just wanted to share something that I saw when we talked about leadership that really resonated with me growing up watching the game for a while. Tim Duncan got taken out of a game once, and Greg Popovich had him on the sideline and was in front of the whole team, kind of tore into him a little bit, yelling at him. It was pretty obvious that Tim Duncan had made a mistake. Tim Duncan, being one of the best players of all time, looked at him, took it, went and sat down, absorbed the information, and went and made the adjustments inside the game. And from that point forward, they won, however many championships, five. And the quality that resonates with me the most is when your best players are able to take criticism and lead and set that example for the rest of the team. Nobody else has a choice. And what Steph Curry has done the most of, and Klay Thompson, to an extent, he's less vocal, is these are two of the greatest players of all time that when they make a mistake, Steve Kerr knows that they can go to them and treat them almost as the same way as they would treat the last person on the bench from a coaching standpoint. And that's what spreads across the team. That's what makes everyone accountable. That's what makes everyone kind of fall into line. And it does. And Miss Britt, who was on earlier, said you have to be good. That is the intangible.
100%.
That you have to be really, really good.
100%.
That's what I wanted to say. Is the best leadership quality is taking coaching, even if you're the best player on the team.
No doubt.
Because everyone else is accountable.
And Steph Curry does that, T. Great call.
Would you file
Steph
that
Curry does that a lot.
No, he absolutely
He takes
does.
the coaching in.
Would you? Because I wouldn't. When I say this out loud, I wouldn't put Michael Jordan under this thing. But humility and grace. Michael Jordan isn't necessarily humble or graceful, but I will say in terms of the competitive spirit and fire, when he was being coached, at least from the stuff that we've seen now with The Last Dance and all it felt like he did absorb it on some level.
He did. He
and
respected it.
Allowed himself to be critiqued in front of his teammates. I'm not sure some of the guys in sports these days allow...
LeBron James doesn't.
Exactly.
LeBron James doesn't.
Exactly.
I've heard stories of LeBron James cutting coaches off mid-sentence to speak his piece.
Look what he did to Spoelstra when he tried to elbow him on his way back to the huddle.
He disrespected Luke Walton over and over, from what I hear down in Lakerland. So 888-957-9570. We're dissecting the loss last night to the Orlando Magic. Look, man, Steve Kerr's not the greatest coach of all time. I'll be the first to admit that. May not be the best coach in the game today. Spoelstra may be that guy. Coach Bud, put some respect on him. I love what Monty Williams is doing. Quinn Snyder's doing a damn good job. Ty Lue with the Clippers is a damn good coach. But when you're playing the Orlando Magic, I don't want to hear about rotations. I don't want to hear about, hey, he needs to motivate this team. They've lost 2 in a row. You're battling for the 2 seed. You're just trying to win some games and feel good about yourself. You're millionaires. How much motivation, how many locker room speeches do you need to get ready for the Orlando Magic?
And you
should have to break a clipboard for the Orlando Magic.
How many games has Klay Thompson played? You can't foul that guy in that situation,
Dude,
you know?
And you can't. But here's the thing what Steve Kerr said. Fouling 3-point shooters, the turnovers. We just gloss over the 7 turnovers in the fourth quarter. Is turnovers a coaching problem?
So here's
that's being reckless with the basketball. It's being careless with the basketball.
Did they have 4 or 5 illegal screens in the fourth quarter?
It felt like 4.
Okay, so let's say they had 4. Let's say they have 4. When you have Draymond, I'm getting really deep in the weeds here, so just give me 10 seconds to spit it out. When Draymond's standing at the top of the key and he is dribbling and holding the ball, okay? Everyone in the arena, the officials included, they stare at the ball. But when they know you're never going to shoot it, they're going to focus on other things, right? And when you know all these guys are coming off of screens, now the referees, because you're not a threat, okay, they're going to be more hypersensitive to how much these screens, how set you are on them. Are you moving? Are you doing this? How much physicality is there? He's got to be a threat is what I'm getting
He's got to be a threat offensively.
It's not just the defense he's putting pressure on. He's making it harder for his teammates to get open.
So maybe that is on Steve Kerr to tell Draymond, hey, I need you to shoot more than 3 times. You are wide
I'm with you.
open.
I'm with you.
Again, here's
and
my
discipline.
issue.
I would file this in terms of them being more disciplined in their screen setting, in their defensive tactics.
You know, one thing I worried about with Draymond Green coming back, the one concern, I think we talked about it off air maybe, but with the ascension of Jonathan Kuminga, a guy who could get to the – Jonathan Kuminga had 14 points yesterday in 19 minutes and played in just 20 minutes. You know, and yes, I did think when Draymond Green came back, I thought everything would be okay. But then Steph gets hurt in the second game, he's back. So how can we really assess the situation? Steph gets hurt in the second game, Draymond's back. So now we don't even know how they look. But one thing that Steve Kerr maybe could do is tell Dre to be aggressive. Because one thing I worried about was with Looney and Draymond in that starting lineup, and if we're going to play Wiggins, who's in a funk, and Klay Thompson's working himself back, you have one true playmaker on the floor.
Jordan Poole.
No, Stephen Curry. I'm actually with Steph Curry.
My bad.
But now with Jordan Poole, you have Jordan Poole now.
Yes.
Jordan Poole, I believe, is going to probably start the rest of the season.
He should.
You got to play Klay. You got to play Steph. You got to play Poole.
Wiggins is the odd man out right now.
Would it be Draymond? Would it be Looney?
You can make an argument for any one of them, B.
Because here's my thing.
Kuminga's got to play.
Here's my issue.
I'm with you there.
You cannot play 305 on offense. You can't do that anymore in this league.
No.
You look at the Phoenix Suns. They got threats offensively every possession. And whenever they got 5 on the floor, they have threats offensively to score. Now, you got to get rebounds. You got to play defense. I get all that. I'm a defense-first guy, too, but you got to get buckets in the NBA, especially in today's NBA.
You can't score 89 points against the Orlando Magic.
90 points against the Magic, Chef. He scored 16 in the fourth quarter and 17 in the first. So what I'm getting at here is you play Looney and Draymond together, you know 2 of those guys offensively are not threats. I just watched the Boston Celtics and Ime Udoka, who's moving up the coaching ranks.
He's a really good coach.
Really good coach.
I like him.
Once he saw Draymond and Juan Toscano-Anderson on the floor at the same time,
they laid off.
They basically sagged to the other side where Klay and Poole was. And they said, JT and Draymond, you guys can pass to each other. You can do whatever the hell you want to do with the ball. Do whatever you want to do with the ball. We're not worried about you offensively. How can you win like that?
Well, and that's the one area that they've started Otto Porter Jr. over the last couple of weeks. He's given them the shot in the arm that they need, B. Like, again, they would have gotten blown out if Otto Porter Jr. the last 2 nights didn't show up the way he did.
Otto Porter's been good. He's been really good.
He's been really good.
Back-to-back double-doubles.
But here, he's a guy, like, you can't rely on him every single night because he's older and he's had the injury concerns. And he doesn't give you the defense that Draymond does, but he gives me the great rebounding. He's fighting right now.
He is fighting. I'm looking at Jordan Poole here with 40 seconds left.
This is a great
drive.
And then goes up and gets crushed.
Get crushed. No foul call. He got bumped a couple times in the fourth quarter.
Can you play the Draymond Green sound after the game? Because Draymond Green said something, and I'm just like, why does it always have to be pointing the finger at everyone else?
Wait on it because we got the injury report.
Okay.
Boxer and Gerson injury report. We got a lot of injuries when it comes to the Golden State Warriors.
Really?
Yep.
It's time for the injury report.
That really hurt.
Brought to you by Boxer and Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years.
Today's injury report. The Warriors are in Miami. They're in South Beach taking on the Miami Heat, and several notable names on the Heat are questionable for tonight. Jimmy Butler is dealing with an ankle injury after rolling it in a win over the Pistons last week. Despite suiting up in Monday's loss to the Sixers, he is listed as questionable for the Heat tonight. Same for Tyler Hero, who's dealing with the left knee sprain. He's also questionable. As I just said here, the injury report was brought to you by Boxer and Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. So we'll look at the injury report real quick, Shasky, because we got a break here in 2 minutes. But here's what Draymond Green said last night after the loss to Orlando.
I think we're playing soft. We're playing stupid. We're just not playing good basketball, and we're getting pumped. So it's hard to win a game getting pumped.
One more Draymond Green soundbite.
You get to these games, and we're losing a lot of fourth quarters. Like, not really losing the whole game. We're losing a lot of fourth quarters. And that's execution. But in order to execute, it requires a certain level of physicality, and we're not meeting that. No disrespect to the Orlando Magic, but that's one of the worst teams in the league. We can't match that with them. So if you can't match that with them, you're definitely not going to do it against a great team. And so I wouldn't necessarily say it's concern, but that's what's happening. I don't doubt that we can fix it, but if we're going to win some games, they got to be fixed.
Whew.
Did he take any accountability there? Because isn't he,
He
supposed
said
to
we.
be?
Or we're.
Say we.
Okay. Because isn't he supposed
There's
to be
no I in team.
the enforcer?
There's no I in team.
Isn't he supposed to be Mr. Physicality? Like, what are we expecting, Clay to be physical? Now we're expecting that. Like, I thought Otto Porter Jr. played very physical. If you were pairing up Draymond versus Otto, who you tell me who played harder last night? No, I'm asking sincerely.
No, it's Otto Porter.
And then
Jr.
Wiggins, like, was Wiggins playing physical last night?
He was getting to the rack. He just missed a lot of buddies. He was aggressive, Shaq. I'll give.
Early,
he
was
gets no
aggressive.
stars. He gets no gold stars for being aggressive. I'm not saying that, but at least he was aggressive. If he could give me that type of aggressiveness every game, he'll make more than 5 shots. Missed a lot of easy shots. A lot of easy shots.
I did like them posting him up in the game early.
He missed a lot of easy shots. Draymond Green's not playing well, and maybe it is the back. Maybe it's the back injury.
Well, this is why I want to play Kuminga more, because he's physical all the time. Anytime he's on the floor, he's ramming into people.
Darrell Wright coming up on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. Don't go anywhere. Plus your phone calls. 888-957-9570 as we dissect the Warriors' loss to the Orlando Magic.